Hussein was born here, in the cradle of civilization. His family came from a tiny mud and straw village called Al-Auja in the land of ancient Babylon in central Iraq.
Most of his relatives, they are tough people. They killed each other. Some of them are thieves.
Most families lived in miserable poverty, but Saddam Hussein was born into the unhappiest of homes. Before he was even born, Saddam's mother tried to kill herself and him. Suba Talfa was 7 months pregnant when she lost her husband. Then a son fell fatally ill and died.
Now here is this widow, pregnant. She said, I don't want this child. What good will the child do to me? I lost my husband, I lost my other child. And she even said that this child from her belly is actually getting rid of competitors. He wants to be the only man in the family. And she was trying to bang her belly against the door and against walls, but eventually she gave birth.
The child was born on April 28, 1937. His mother called him Saddam, which means in Arabic, the one who confronts. Finally allowed to go to school, but he learned more than how to spell his name while under his uncle's roof. Khairallah gave him his first real possession at age 10, a gun. He also taught him how to use it.
He used to have a gun when he was in the primary school, and he threatened the teachers by gun. And it is said that he killed, when he was 10 years old, he killed a person.
The police arrived at his house within an hour of the murder to find young Saddam sound asleep, the gun under his pillow, still warm. In 1956, Uncle Khairallah took Saddam away from backwater Tikrit, 100 miles down the Tigris, to the legendary city of Baghdad. Saddam's uncle encouraged him to follow in his footsteps, become an army cadet. Full of hope, Saddam sat for the entrance exam for the Baghdad Military Academy and failed. But word of another hero was stirring the city streets. 1956 was the year Egypt's Gamal Abdel Nasser faced down the Western powers in the Suez Crisis. Nasser's defiance inspired millions of young Arabs to enter politics, including Saddam Hussein.
He immediately joined the most active, radical, and burning, so to say, party in Iraq, and that was the Baath party. It was a young, radical, dashing, very extreme nationalistic, and slightly socialistic.
The back streets of Baghdad were filled with young men plotting against the Western-backed monarchy. Then, on July 17, 1958, revolution. King Faisal, whose family had ruled Iraq since 1920, was murdered in a military coup. Western oil interests were shocked by the overthrow of the friendly monarchy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
My fellow citizens, yesterday was a day of grave developments in the Middle East. In Iraq, a highly organized military blow struck down the duly constituted government and attempted to put in its place a committee of army officers. The attack was conducted with great brutality. Many of the leading personalities were beaten to death or hanged, and their bodies dragged through the streets.
Baghdad was in chaos after King Faisal's assassination. Young men roamed the streets in gangs. Among them, Saddam Hussein was now a Baath party enforcer.
Saddam Hussein was a young hitman. One of the characteristics of Saddam is that he didn't mind killing.
In 1959, the Baath party gave Saddam his big break. He was chosen to be part of a team to assassinate Iraq's new military ruler, General Qasim. The plan was to ambush Qasim's car in broad daylight on Baghdad's busiest avenue, Rashid Street.
Because they didn't know how to prepare an ambush, they shot at each other. They also wounded the general, didn't kill him. But Saddam himself was wounded by a bullet, apparently from one of his own comrades.
Qasim escaped to show off his bullet-ridden limousine. The hit squad fled to a safe house, and even though the attack was a failure, the incident soon acquired legendary status and was dramatized for Iraqi TV.
They escaped to a hiding house. They called me in the morning. I went to them, I treated Saddam. He looked not pain because the wound was very simple, but he looked a yellowish boy. And as I told you, he was the most junior among the group.
At only 22, Saddam was now one of Iraq's most wanted men. After the attack, he escaped home to Tikrit, and from there crossed the desert, disguised as a Bedouin tribesman. Then he made his journey to the center of the Arab world, Cairo, where he would learn some valuable lessons about power while he plotted his return to Iraq. 3 months after coming to power, Saddam and Bakr organized a grisly celebration of their new regime. They declared a national holiday for the public execution of a circle of alleged spies, most of them Iraqi Jews.
And they made a very public spectacle of their execution. Hundreds of thousands of people were actually brought in from the villages, trapped in carnival-like atmosphere, as 13 bodies dangled in the air in Central Liberation Square. That very public spectacle was followed by less dramatic but more and more frequent conspiracy tales. Constant discovery of conspiracy. Zionist agents, imperialist agents, American agents, Iranian agents. Every few months, a new circle were being found.
Though Bakr was still president in name, Saddam was increasingly the strongman, the real power behind the scenes. In 1972, Saddam nationalized the Iraq Petroleum Company, which controlled 15% of the world's oil. He used the money to finance a great leap of development, modernizing villages and cities and bringing Iraq into the 20th century.
Part of Saddam's mystique, if you want to call it that, is what he actually achieved for the country. This man electrified virtually every village in Iraq. He built road systems like nobody built roads before in Iraq.
With Iraq's newfound wealth, Saddam bought himself a place in international affairs. In 1972, Saddam negotiated a friendship agreement and an arms deal with the Soviet Union. And in 1978, Saddam rallied Arab opposition to the Camp David Accords, the U.S.-brokered peace treaty between Israel and Egypt. Then Saddam made his move to the top.
The president of Iraq, Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr, said he was resigning today because of poor health. He handed over power to the military strongman, General Saddam Hussein, who for some time has been regarded as Iraq's real head of government.
Saddam consolidated his grip on power by calling an unusual meeting 5 days later, which he ordered cameras to record for posterity. This rarely seen footage shows the mystified party leaders hearing Saddam announce that he had uncovered yet another plot against the government, and that some of the conspirators were in the audience. An alleged informant took the podium and began reading off the names of the plotters. As each name was read out, a man was hustled out by the secret police. The tension mounted among those remaining as the list of conspirators grew.
Nobody knew whose name would appear next. So you can imagine 250 of the most senior people in Iraq sitting in this hall, dying inside, waiting to see whether their name is mentioned too, because they knew that once their name is mentioned, they're dead.
The remaining leaders sweated. Only Saddam seemed to be enjoying his display of absolute control. After it was all over, both film and story were circulated around Iraq so that the country would know exactly who was in charge.
This is when a real atmosphere of terror takes over in Iraq, and Saddam is the architect of that.
Now that Saddam was firmly in power in Baghdad, he was ready for a new challenge. His next ambition, to be the undisputed leader of the whole Gulf region. The major obstacle